Hello, I'm Savannah Purdy.
I'm Jocelyn Lukey.
And I'm Lucy Andrew.
Today we are going to be telling you about the results we found from Cherry Creek, and we are also going to be telling you about the problem that's been occurring. First, let's go to the video.
Winona Lake is a Warsaw lake and plenty of people live by it and swim in it. It also has a creek attached to it called Cherry Creek.
Learn about water life from the creek, and there is an important water source, but there is a problem, and it is E. coli in the water.
Coli is a bacteria, and some of it is pathogenic, which means it can make humans and animals sick. There is a lot of E. coli in the creek and the lake.
When people constantly do things by and in the water, it can cause problems. We need to stop E. coli from getting into the water.
You are probably wondering how E. coli is getting into the creek. Well, E. coli is common in waste, which means usually pet waste is getting into the water, which is making E. coli stronger and stronger in the water.
We need to stop pet waste from getting into the water. People need to pick after their pets.
Our first and most important test was the oxygen test. Oxygen is a necessary element to all forms of living things, but too much oxygen can be bad for the water because it could be a sign of pollution. Oxygen can be mixed into the water by rain, wind, or currents. Rain has oxygen, so when the rain gets in the water, it's putting more oxygen into it. Different temperatures of water have more oxygen. Colder waters hold more oxygen than warmer waters, which is another reason why too much oxygen is bad, because if there's too much water or oxygen in the water, it can make it very cold. For our Cherry Creek results, there was 87% oxygen in the water, which is a very good rating.
The next test we did was the pH test. Now, what is pH? pH is to measure the acidity in the water. You don't want too much acidity in the water because it can affect the wildlife and plants in it, because acidity is the exact same thing that's found in a lemon or an orange, and that can really hurt the things in our water. For our rating, we got a 7, which is pretty neutral. 6.5, which is pretty neutral. That's in between milk and water, you can see on the slide. Now, what pH levels are acceptable? A 7 is a very good rating, but depending on where you live, it can be different. Up north, you would get a more acidic water, like a lemon or vinegar. Down in South Indiana, you would get more of a basic water, like bleach or soap.
Our next test was the orthophosphate test. Phosphate or orthophosphate gets in the water from a variety of things, like erosion, branches, and leaves breaking down, fertilizer, pollution, and animal waste. Orthophosphates are nutrients. Orthophosphates are dissolved in the water and come from fertilizer and waste. They help plant growth and are essential for the water. Nitrate and nitrite, which you will learn about in the next slide, are types of orthophosphates. So, too much of these orthophosphates can take down the quality of the water. Our recording for Cherry Creek was 0.1, which means there's not a ton of phosphates in the water, and that's good.
The next test we did was nitrite and nitrite. Nitrite and nitrite. This is a bacteria that gets in the water that eats all the other bacteria. Now, this can be good if it eliminates our bad bacteria, but it can be bad if it eliminates our bacteria that help the water. When is nitrate and nitrite's highest point? It's in the summer because it's in fertilizer for the grass, so when they put the fertilizer for the grass into the grass, it washes into the creek, eliminating all of the bacteria. We got a variety of low numbers we could not agree on, so our results were we got low numbers.
Next, we tested for the turbidity of the water. Turbidity is a test to see how clear or cloudy the water is. The more suspended solids in the water, the murkier it is and higher turbidity. High turbidity can affect the quality of the water. It can harm fish and other aquatic life by reducing food supply and affecting gill functioning. For our results, we got 98 centimeters, meaning if we looked down into a tube full of the creek water, we would be able to see a black and white disc filled up to 98 centimeters. If we went higher than 98 centimeters, we wouldn't be able to see the disc. This is a good rating.
And one of the last tests we did was pollution testing. What is pollution testing? Now you might be thinking, plastic that's been washed into the creek. But no, this is chemicals that have been washed into the creek. What we do is we get in the water with our waders, and we take a net and we look for all of the animals we can find. Now there's a chart from a scale of 1 to 4. 1 meaning the most delicate animals, and 4 meaning the ones that can withstand pollution. We found a good mixture, meaning we got all the way from 1 to 4. You might be thinking, if you just got 1, the water might be amazing. Or if you just got 4, the water would be awful. But really, you want a good mixture overall, because the number 4 can live in clear water as well. We got 16 for our score, which is a good mixture overall.
E. coli are bacteria found in the environment, foods, and intestines of people and animals. E. coli can be harmless, but some can make you really sick. As you can see below, in 2017, there were 218.7 E. coli per E. coli colony. It was not recorded in 2018. Then in 2019, the number of E. coli per colony was dropped to 100. But the next year in 2020, the E. coli per E. coli colony results were TNTC. That stands for too numerous to count. This is not good because there were so many E. coli per colony that they couldn't count it. E. coli gets in the water from waste. Waste gets in the water in many different ways, like sewage overflows, sewage systems that aren't working properly, polluted stormwater runoff, and agricultural runoff. The problem with E. coli is that it can cause sickness and disease in humans, so it can make us very sick. It is also a problem because it can indicate sewage or animal waste contamination. Sewage and animal waste contamination can contain many types of diseases.
E. coli is becoming a huge problem, but how is it getting into our water? The reason why E. coli is getting into our water is over 2020, people have been trying to find ways to get it out of their house because of COVID. So, lately they've been taking their animals on walks or exercising runs. And as they're doing it, they're not picking up after their pet, which that waste from the pet gets washed into the creek, creating tons of E. coli.
We need our community to be aware of the problems in the Cherry Creek and to help solve the problems. We would like to place a pet waste station, posters, and brochures near the creek to educate the community in this situation.
Thank you for coming today and participating and learning about our problem.